Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to begin with a confession. I don't think life is a race. I know that's the metaphor we usually given. We're told life is a marathon. Keep running, keep competing, don't fall behind. But the older I get, the more I realize that life feels less like running and more like sitting across a chessboard from the uncertainty itself. Because unlike a race, life is not linear. In a race, the path is already built, the destination is visible, the rules are stable. But life doesn't work that way. Life changes while you are living it. The board shifts, the player changes, the clock speeds up unexpectedly. And sometimes, just when you think you understand the game, you discover you are focusing on the wrong piece entirely. That's why life is a chess game. Not because it's about intelligence, not because it is about defeating other people, but because chess is ultimately about one thing: decision making under uncertainty. And if you think about it, that is what being a human really is. Every day we make irreversible moves with incomplete information. Who should I trust? Who should I become? Should I stay or leave? Should I risk stability for meaning? Should I speak? Should I remain silent? And the terrifying thing is, in chess, just like in life, you rarely know whether a move is brilliant or disastrous until much later. In chess, the first phase is called the opening, and beginners often obsess over openings because openings feel safe, and there are names for everything: the Sicilian defense, the King's Gambit, the French defense, structured, predictable, and memorized. And isn't that exactly how we begin life? As children, we inherit opening theory from our families, culture, religions, schools, and societies. We are taught that this is success, this is failure, this is respectable, this is dangerous, this is who you should become. And at first, the structure feels comforting, but eventually, every serious chess player learns the same lesson: that the opening is not a guarantee. You can follow perfect theory for 10 moves and still lose the game, because eventually memorization ends and understanding begins. That is the moment of adulthood truly starts. The moment when nobody can hand you the next move anymore. The moment you realize your parents were improvising, your teachers were improvising, the people you admired were improvising, and suddenly you are alone with the board. That realization terrifies people. So many people spend their entire lives trying to avoid uncertainty. They cling to formulas: the perfect career path, the perfect relationship timeline, the perfect identity. But chess punishes rigidity. A player who cannot adapt eventually collapses. And so do we. In chess, every piece moves differently. The rook moves directly, the bishop moves diagonally, the knight moves unpredictably. The queen moves almost without imitation, and the king, the most important piece, moves slowly and vulnerably. And that matters because one of the greatest causes of suffering in life is comparison. We compare our movement to someone else's movement. But imagining judging a knight for not moving like a bishop, it would make no sense. Yet people do this to themselves constantly. Someone says, "You're behind." Behind whom? A doctor's timeline is different from an artist's. An entrepreneur's path is different from a parent's. Some people bloom at 20, others at 60. Some people are built for rapid movement, others are built for endurance. And sometimes the people who appear least impressive early in the game become the most powerful later. In chess, pawns are underestimated. They move slowly, one square at a time. They are considered expendable. Yet, there is one extraordinary rule. If a pawn survives the entire board, it can transform to anything: a queen, a rook, a bishop, a knight. Think about how profound that is. The weakest piece of possession, hidden potential for a total transformation. Maybe human beings are just like that too. Maybe growth is not about proving your worth immediately, but it is about surviving long enough to discover what you can become. Now let's talk about sacrifice, because chess players understand that something modern culture does not. You cannot giving you cannot gain everything without giving something up. In chess, strong players constantly sacrifice materials for position, comfort for initiative, safety for attack. To amateurs, sacrifice looks irrational. Why would you intentionally lose something valuable? But masters understand that sometimes losing a piece opens up the board, and life works exactly the same way. Every meaningful transformation requires sacrifice. To gain discipline, you sacrifice comfort. To gain mastery, you sacrifice distraction. To gain authenticity, you sacrifice approval. And perhaps the hardest truth, sometimes growth requires sacrificing an old version of yourself, the version built for survival, the version obsessed with pleasing everyone, the version terrified of failure. We romanticize transformation, but transformation is violent. The painful reality is that every yes in our life is also a thousand invisible no's. And that is not a tragedy, that is structure. Trust without limitation would not be chess. Life without consequences would not create meaning. And when the middle game starts, this is the point where chess becomes complicated. This is where strategy collides with unpredictability. And honestly, this is where most adults live psychologically. Not at the beginning, not at the end, but in the messy middle. Big responsibilities multiply, relationship becomes complicated, dreams collide with reality. We begin to carry invisible griefs such as missed opportunities, betrayals, disappointment, even regrets. And this is where people often make dangerous mistakes. In chess, pressure creates weakness, and strangely enough, pressure also reveals character. Who are you when your plans fail? Who are you when control disappears? Who are you when nobody applauds? That is the real game. One of the deepest lessons chess teaches is humility. No matter how intelligent you are, you cannot control the entire board. There is always another player. Life is like that too. You cannot control fully the markets, the politics, your aging, illness, other people's emotion. And yet, people exhaust themselves trying to change that. What you can control is your position, your preparation, your attention, your response. There is a concept in chess called tempo. Tempo is essentially time efficiency. One wasted move can shift the entire balance of the game. Now, eventually, every chess game reaches the end game. And something fascinating happens there. The board becomes quieter, fewer pieces remains, and suddenly clarity matters more than complexity. I think aging does this too to people. When we were young, life is crowded: ambition, status, competing, proving yourself. But later, many people discovered that the things that called chase were never the point. In the endgame, fundamentals return: connection, peace, integrity, time, and perhaps the greatest tragedy is not losing the game. Perhaps the greatest tragedy is spending your entire life protecting the piece that never truly mattered: your image, your ego, your need to appear successfully. Meanwhile, the clock keeps moving because there is one final rule in chess that mirrors life perfectly. Whether you are winning or losing, the clock never stops. And that truth frightens people. But I actually think it makes life meaningful because frightens also create value. A sunset matters because it ends. A conversation matters because it ends. A human life matters because it ends. Immortality would destroy urgency, and limits create beauty. So, after all these years, here is what I think the real lesson of chess might be. Life is not about achieving a perfect position, there is no perfect position. Life is about learning how to think, adapt, recover, and move with intention despite uncertainty. You will blunder, you will lose the piece that you thought you needed, you will misread people, you will run out of time in moments that mattered. Everyone does. But defeat is rarely a single move. More often, defeat is a decision to stop engaging with the board, to stop learning, to stop risking, to stop loving, to stop becoming. And so maybe wisdom is not becoming fearless. Maybe the wisdom is simply to sit across from the chaos, study the position honestly, and still choose to make a move, one thoughtful move at a time. Thank you.